Yeah, good evening and welcome once again to another edition of the Truth Hour. My name is Johnny Guzman. As always, a pleasure to be here sharing truth. Tonight, the collapse of the Matrix. We've asked Kate of Gaia and a special guest, Santos Bonacci, to come on our show tonight to talk about the things that are going on today. Many things happened last week. For example, the death of Hugo Chavez and all this secrecy stuff going on in the Vatican to see who's going to be elected Pope next. And we're going to talk about all that and what's going on in the stars as well. Before we start, I'd like to just remind you to visit our webpage, qltelevision.com. And of course, you can go into our Facebook, QL Television, and our YouTube channel, QL Television. And, of course, go into our other page, www.bonaccidefilm.com. And, of course, I'd like to take a few seconds to thank a lot of you folks who have donated for this wonderful project. And we've been getting a lot of emails and a lot of collaboration from many people from all over the world, and we want to thank you for that. Okay, very well. Let's say hello to our guests. Kate, good evening.
Hey, how are you doing, Johnny? All good? Can you see me? Everything good?
Yes, yeah, you're doing good. You're doing good. Santos, how are you, my friend? Santos. Hello, Santos.
Yes, Johnny. Yes, very well, thanks. Yourself?
Okay, good, good. Santos, this last week has been a very crazy week, as you know, and I'm sure Kate and we've been bombarded with the death of Hugo Chavez, right, the president of Venezuela, and we'll get a little bit into that, because I'm sure Kate is going to argue with me on that. He's still part of the system, and he's still the president, and he's still involved with all the nonsense that goes on with the politics. But one thing that's very interesting about this, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Santos, first, and then we go to Kate, and what's been saying in Australia, right? But he's created such a movement down here in South America where obviously, there's the propaganda and all the media coverage, and the coverage, obviously, from the United States is not going to be the same as the coverage from down here in South America. But it's a strange death, I would think. There's many rumors that his cancer was induced, and we know that the U.S. has the chemicals and the weapons to do these things. So I asked myself, why would a leader who just won the presidency in Ecuador and he's been promoting change down here in South America, and many can argue as well he's part of the New World Order because he wants to unify South America. But it was a strange death. It was a strange death when he's just been reelected, where things are moving his way, and he just died. So what are your thoughts on this, Santos?
My thoughts are that he was poisoned. If you read the Jesuit oath, you'll find that their favorite way of killing people is with poison. They are masters and learned in the dark and secret sciences of how to get rid of foes and enemies to their cause. And the Jesuits will stop at nothing. They would have planted a cancerous substance in his food somewhere along the line years ago, probably when he first got cancer 8 years ago. But it's funny how a lot of these independent type rulers that are wanting to nationalize their oil disappear or get killed or die of cancer like this under suspicious, very, very suspicious circumstances. It is very suspicious. People like Aaron Dawes, Frank Zappa, all of these people that die, before their time, that speak out against these monstrous organizations, the corporate system, find themselves dead slowly with poisons and cancers and things like that, or with 2 or 3 suicidal bullet shot wounds to the head.
Kate, the question to you.
Sure.
President Chavez, right, who just passed away, I think it was mostly hated throughout the world. Kate, I'm not seeing you on the screen. Kate?
Oh, I said hi. Hello, okay, I'm here.
I was talking this to a friend of mine, right? And we know this from, we were just talking about this before. Let's not focus on some of the problems, but let's focus on the solutions, right? But he was
Yes.
hated more than he was loved. You can say, well, within Venezuela, he was loved practically
Oh,
by
yeah.
70% of the population, maybe even more, and throughout some of the countries in South America. But understanding that in all of South America, there's about a 30% of the population who think they belong to to the elite, or they belong to the elite, and they're the opposition. So they send hatred towards this man. I mean, he's without a doubt probably the most hated man on the planet. If we go to the United States, probably 80% of the population hate him because they've been bombarded that he's a dictator. And if we go to Europe, I'm sure it's another 80% of the population that they hate him. So it's just there's less people who appreciated his work, whether you think he is a good man or not. So how do you respond to that, or what can you say about that? There was more hatred towards the man that could probably help accelerate his death. What do you think about that, Kate?
I love Hugo Chavez. I've always seen him as the Muammar Gaddafi of South America. I've always seen him as an individual. I mean, you want to talk about the free oil he provided for the United States for many, many years. A lot of people don't know that. He provided lots of heating oil for people that couldn't afford heating oil in the United States proper, mainland. He was a thorn in the sides of the elites because he didn't take any of their nonsense. He revolutionized Venezuela. He gave the people of Venezuela a voice that was louder than most. And the only people that I could see hating Hugo Chavez were the ones that feared him for what he stood for. You know, I never met the man, but again, by your actions you shall be known. I mean, he privatized a lot of things, the mines, the oil. And yeah, I would hazard to say he was loved by far more than 70% of the people in Venezuela. And again, proof of the pudding, they had to kill him. And of course, as Santa was saying, yeah, these dark ones love their alchemy. They love their poisons. You look back through history and how many times it's used to off people. I mean, Shakespeare wrote about it. Was it? Who am I trying to think of here?
Othello?
Othello is one. Alas, poor Yorick. Why can't I think of this? Where? Sorry?
Faust?
Not Faust. It'll come to me. But again, it's all about poisons, and where the king. Oh, it keeps going right by me. I'm missing it. Where the king was actually poisoned. Hamlet. His father was poisoned by his uncle by pouring poison into his ear. You know, and the reason why they do this, and they're a whole lot more methodical about it now because they know that you know, trace poisons like arsenic, cyanide, you name it, can all be found in trace elements in the blood. So what they do is they find something that is untraceable. In the case of Hugo Chavez, someone had to have gotten close enough to him to slip something where he's going to eat it or drink it. You know, very trusted people that he would have around him. Directed attacks, you name it. But I got to tell you, I mean, what is it, 2 years ago he got diagnosed, and this is a slow, insidious death. And I think that method of killing someone is look what we can do to you, and look how slowly it will take you to die. You know, look at I can't remember, it was some former KGB guy in England got stabbed with an umbrella, and I believe he survived. Or actually, he didn't survive, but the president of Ukraine, same thing. He got hit. Standard operating procedure for these guys, and they do it with seeming impunity. You know, but the universe has changed now. The laws are coming back in where the laws are proper, not this legal nonsense that we deal with in the paper world. For all the Walking Dead, those that sleep with the whore of Babylon called system, that carry the mark of the beast called name. You know, it's time to get out of Babylon. But no, Hugo Chavez, absolutely. And again, they often Muammar Gaddafi, and they took out. Look at all the beautiful infrastructure that they took out that Muammar Gaddafi had built for his people using oil money, and of course everyone in Libya partook in the profits of that. Uh, this is all about the disinfo from the meat stick media that is conveying this. Because I got to be, completely blunt, Johnny. And all the people I've dealt with, I've never heard a bad thing about him. And rightly so. The guy, he scared the U.S. He stood up to them, and much to the chagrin of the people, they offed him. Standard stuff.
Right. Kate, you froze a little bit, but let's see if we can fix your camera. In the meantime, Santos, you there?
Yes, mate. Yep.
Okay. What the question now is, right? His death. Many people, all the scoundrels are right now. They're counting the days until the new elections. Is 100 days from now. They're going to be another elections, and the guy who ran opposing Chavez. Capriles Rodonsky. Imagine, with that name, Capriles Rodonsky, a Venezuelan guy, right? He's just announced that he's going to run again. But anyhow, they think, and I think with this we'll move on to another subject. But they think this is just going to be a cakewalk now. But they don't understand that he's left, a backbone of things in Venezuela. I mean, many people, Kate was talking about, the stuff that they were doing, that Hugo Chavez did for the U.S. But, in Venezuela, you pay 25 cents a gallon of gasoline. I mean, I was asking a taxi driver how much does he spend a week. He says a month. He says $27. So, I mean, it's insane. So now he's left, apart from, there's no more people who don't know how to read and write in Venezuela. He's done, terminated that. Everybody knows how to read and write, as opposed to before he came in 10 years ago. It was like 70% of the population probably didn't know how to read or write. Oh, well, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit. But I think now that, it's not going to be that easy, because a lot of people have woken up thanks to this man. Whether you like him or not, one of the main things that he was disliked was because he stood up for the people and he helped the poor. And of course, because he was a mulatto, he wasn't a white guy with, blue eyes and, very clean cut guy. So I think that was one of the other reasons why they hated him so much. But the question is, Santos, what do you think is going to happen now? Now, knowing, that all these changes are coming now, what do you foresee that his death would bring to the Venezuelan people and to all of South America, really, Santos?
Well, look, if this had have happened 5 years ago, I would have been negative. But right now, in 2013, I'm pretty positive. First of all, the powers that were, the Jesuits and the Vatican, their day's over. And there's a lot of indicators for that. I don't really have to go into that. We've done that on other shows. And so the force that was against the Hugo Chavez type no longer is the same. When America, backed by the Vatican with all their money, could go into Indonesia, Chile, Argentina, North Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan, Iraq, and all of these horror war stories of the last 50 years, we've been plagued by these invasions to bring democracy and bring better leaders to these countries. Turns out, the dictators that the Vatican places in those countries are more evil than anything else. So I really think that Venezuela and other countries are beyond the control of the Vatican anymore. So this new guy, he may be, favorable toward the elite, but the elite anywhere on this planet now have been noticed that they no longer can be, so influential from behind the scenes, and they're going to just have to, be good, I guess, because we have awoken, and And so it is much more difficult for them to get away with their evil deeds from behind the scenes. People like Morales that have kicked Coca-Cola out of Bolivia, Hugo Chavez, these are exemplary figures. Now, the meat stick media, as Kate puts it, the people who follow that media, they might think that Hugo Chavez was a horrible dictator, but what does that matter? I mean, they're a pack of morons anyway. I mean, if you're going to watch CNN, BBC and all that shit, you're an idiot, right? So, yeah, the idiots think that, but the higher-minded people, we the true people who are leading the world in thinking and in spirit and in love and in truth, we know the real truth. So that's what matters, and we are the ones who are taking control of this planet now. Not the criminal elites from behind the scenes. Their whole system of corruption has bitten them on the bum, and it's being used against them, and it's going to collapse with them and their empire. So the banking controllers that have caused all of this suffering in South America, they're gone bye-byes. You know, we've got Iceland now. We've got at least one example that we can all follow. And we will. We will. I wouldn't be surprised if there won't be some hangings in some countries of banksters, and they need to watch themselves. If they haven't retired yet, banksters and all of these criminals, if they haven't retired yet, like the Premier of Victoria here in last week in Australia, retired, just disappeared, they're going to have to be very, very careful, because there will be jail sentences. What will happen is the 2.5 million innocent people in American jails will be released and will be occupied by the true criminals. So that's coming.
Santos, and you were talking about something before we went on the air with what was going on in the stars with the planets and this election with the Pope, the new Pope. Can you share that a little bit with that so we can get into that area? I think that was very interesting what you pointed out to Kate before we went on the air with the secret election of the Pope, Santos.
Okay. Yeah, well, I did the chart for the 12th of March, midday, when the conclave will begin. First thing to notice is the sun. There's the sun and the moon are in the 10th house, along with 3 other planets, Uranus, Mars, and Venus. Very, very important, this. And you will notice that the sun and the moon and Mars are all aspecting, or rather are all not aspecting with the rest of the chart. Now, what that means is the sun represents the spirit, the vital force of any chart. The moon is the soul and the intuition and basically the inner secret spiritual nature. And Mars represents action, decisiveness, combativeness, aggression, the ability to achieve things with positive action. Well, it's funny how Mars, the moon, and the sun, all 3 planets, are not aspecting at all with any of the other planets, which means they are withdrawing their approval. There is no vital force, there is no spirit, there is no soul, there is no action. There is pure condemnation of this conclave. Pure condemnation. And all you have to do is do some research on what it means for Mars to be in the 10th house and Jupiter to be in the 12th house. And that's enough. Let alone all the other bad things in the chart. I don't know who the astrologers of the Vatican are, but they are letting the Vatican down in a big, big way. It's all over. Let me just read to you from one of the ancient astrologers, Firmicus Maternus, and what he has to say about Mars in the 12th house. And this spells it out for you clearly. You don't need much more than this, folks. Mars in the 12th house. Great illnesses are indicated by Mars, 10th house, excuse me. Mars found by day, obviously it is daytime, it's midday. in the 10th house will produce men who are active but hindered in all their activities. He also indicates great losses, including that of inheritance, and has the native prescribed or condemned. For some, he indicates the burden of travel. On others, he imposes great poverty. Still others, he forces to flee into exile. Yeah, that's the Pope. Some perish on the journey or in exile. So let's have a look at some of these adjectives, shall we? Losses, loss of inheritance. Wouldn't it be nice if the Vatican lost all their inheritance and the whole world could enjoy it? Be lovely. Well, that's what's going to happen. The native will be prescribed and condemned. The Vatican will be condemned by Mars in the 10th house. Now let's have a look at Jupiter. Let's see, where's Jupiter? Okay, in the 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th house. Greater misfortunes are indicated by Jupiter in the 12th house. He always makes enemies who frequently exercise power to hinder the native's activity. So the astrologers are really, really teeing this up so that enemies can pour into the Vatican to condemn it and prescribe it and destroy it. Especially... okay, that's about it. There's more talk in there, but the listeners can do their own homework. Mars in the 10th house, Jupiter in the 12th house is just pure condemnation.
Wow.
They're finished.
Wow.
Besides the fact that the Sun and the Moon and Mars are not aspecting. For 3 planets not to aspect is very, very telling. It's showing that Mars in particular is pulling his action principle out from this, from the native, which is the Vatican, or from the newly elected Pope. Now, if you do the chart for 4 or 5 hours later, around 4 to 5 p.m., you'll find that the same planets are still not aspecting. So this is an interesting day, folks. What I see is that the Pope that is elected will be condemned, prescribed, lose everything, have enemies come against the Vatican. There will be virtually no spirit or soul in this creature. He will be soulless and spiritless. It will be even more of a depraved and obviously imbecilic pedophile nature than rat Pope malevolent. They call him benevolent, but there's not a shred of malevolence in the animal. He was absolutely malevolent. And the next imbecile pedophile that will sit on the moronish, imbecilic office of Pope of the world will be more of an imbecile. He will be a totally depraved imbecile. This man will be so depraved that it will stand out like dogs' testicles to the world. And it's the end of the Vatican. The stars are telling it, folks. We have a witness in the heavens.
Yes.
The stars are telling that they are condemned to the core.
Very interesting, Kate.
Yes.
Okay, so we got you back on video. Cool. So is the Matrix finally collapsing, Kate?
Oh, it's been collapsing for a long time. What we're seeing are the final phases of that. I mean, the list goes on and on. I did want to mention one more thing about South America. I think there's 5 or 6 South American or Central American leaders that have come down with mysterious illnesses over the last couple of years. So when I just to finish off on Hugo, when I see something like that happen, yeah, he's obviously a pinpointed target, and so are a few others. So it's not a coincidence. Now, getting back to the Matrix coming down, absolutely, it's coming down. Evil has to destroy itself. That's the definition of evil, destruction. So it has to live up to it. I've been covering the Kabbalion on the webinars that I've been doing every Thursday night, and there was a beautiful little excerpt. I won't pull it up, but let's just say that these entities are going to have the terrible retribution of their actions. You see, when beings reach a certain spiritual power, master class, if you will, they have a great responsibility to use it for good or for evil. And those that choose to use it for evil have a terrible fate awaiting them. You know, this is about creation, and you know, evil is in complete contradiction to creation. Yes, you have to destroy, say, a tree to make a carving, but it's what we're dealing with here is a blatant and ravenous destruction of our Mother Earth. You know, you got to stop and think. If this is the only planet we got, you should probably take care of it. But then there might be some other people out there thinking, well, we know it's not the only planet we got, so we're going to trash this and move along. You know, it's almost like terraforming. And they come in and they you know, rape planets for however long it takes to get the sleepy masses to do all their bidding for them under universal law, free will consent, and then move along. But the Matrix has been collapsing for a long time. When I was involved in a lot of the the legal shenanigans and decoding that crap, one of the things that I did notice in real time was as we uncovered something, the system took a step back, because once a fraud is revealed, they can't use it anymore. So it was up to us to keep moving forward. And the whole basis of my approach with the legal system, and why I'm telling everyone, and I have for a very long time, it's all illusion, it's all bullshit, and the only power it has is the power that you give it. So when we peel back these layers, they cannot use that particular, I don't know, hidden defense, if you will. And that was progressively getting more and more, where something that we would do in the legal sense of things would work for a little bit, then that door got closed because they can't do it anymore. Again, this is about, for me, my purpose was not to find out how they're in dishonor. That was pretty easy to observe for anyone that's got eyes to see and ears to hear. People damaging others and stealing from others and imprisoning others just because they wear a funky black dress without the proper accessories, right? What I was looking for was, okay, well, these guys are in dishonor. How are they getting away with it? How are we, the people, in dishonor? So I went at it in the mirror, and there was only one thing that I could find. Only one thing that I could find that everyone on this planet had in common. Something they take from cradle to grave, and they will defend it with their lives. They will, my name is my honor. No, it's not. Your name is corporate crown property, and that is your mark of the beast if you continue to operate in the merchant. You know the song I like to sing? Merchant law. If you want to play in that realm, then expect to have your ass handed to you. But the good news is the layers have been getting peeled back so much. These guys are spinning. And we're going to keep them that way. It's we're just holding the line and keeping the pressure on. None of us are going to yield. You can off one or two or whatever you want, but see, I don't deal in the meat stick realm. This is an ethereal thing for me. This is about the spirit, because you can kill a body, but you can't kill you. You're infinite. And once people start to realize this, and realize that it's just a game, and these are game pieces, a lot of the fear dissipates rather quickly. And that's the thing too with, I had a little sneaky suspicion the other day. I want to share this, get Santo's reaction with regards to the 250 genomes that are in our DNA that are alien to anything on this planet. And I've talked about that particular DNA as being the construct for the reptilian brain, which is the fight, freeze, or flee brain. And also, well, to back it up, you need to be able to inject fear into people. How are you going to do that? Well, you might want to build a pair of adrenal glands.
Right.
For that panic mode.
Kate, you're frozen. Your video is frozen again.
Here, I'll on and off. 1 sec.
Yeah. So Santos, did you heard that question? Can you give us your thought on that?
What about the genomes?
Yes.
Look, I don't really have much of a thought on that. That's sort of bit of a subject that I don't have much to say about. I've got plenty to say about other things, but perhaps Kate can elaborate on that. But yeah.
You back on, Kate?
I'm still trying to get the camera going here, so give me a sec.
All right. Is Santos? Santos.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So this past weekend I was traveling to a small town here in Ecuador. It's called Azogues. It's probably about 250,000 people. Very small community. Very nice little town. A lot of indigenous people, and we were given a lecture there, and very pretty in the outside. But once you start talking to the people, obviously it's about a 90% Catholic town. And I got the sense of a little bit of despair. We were talking to a group of women that are in toxic relationships. That was the title of this lecture. And there was about something like 90 women, and they were all of them had a common factor, that their men would cheat on them, they drink, and they treat them like second-hand citizens. There were girls that were 24 years old and divorced. There were women that were like 60 years old and they're still in this toxic relationship. There were all kinds of women, but the main factor was that. And obviously, I know that the main cause of this is their faith, because their faith is based on women are second-class citizens. So, I mean, I'm telling you this because I kind of lost a little bit of hope being there and sensing that, So what about those? And there's a lot of those little towns all over South America, and I'm sure in Europe too, and in Spain and in Europe, that are still attached to that religious mind, and mainly the ones that suffer the most are the women. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on that, Santos.
Yeah, look, I think that once the world realizes that the media, the politicians, and the religions have been gypping them, which will happen abruptly and suddenly and beautifully and magnificently. And this is what has been prophesied as return of the Christ, where we all return to our awakened state and live from the heavens, the head, rather than from the lower nature and being controlled by the passions, which is why the churches and the media and the monarchies and the money still exist. That's what they were there for. And once that falls, you'll see that towns like this town, full of suffering women because their husbands cannot possibly, keep virtuous and faithful to them because they are imbecilic because of their religion and the media that supports that kind of behavior. Once all that infrastructure is down and honesty and love is the order of the day, these things are going to be impossible to take place. Why? Well, because most of those women, they'll stand up and they'll walk out away from these men. They'll leave them behind. The only reason that women are suffering is because they think they have to stay with their unfaithful, imbecile husbands. And they're too scared because they've got nothing, they've got no family, they've got no place to go, so they stay with their husbands and be beaten up and let their husbands go off and sleep with all these other dirty women. All of that stuff is going to be much, much harder to do, Johnny. We have to understand that a new paradigm is here, like it or not. And only people with goodness in their heart and who have good intentions are going to prosper. Anyone with any kind of deceitful intention is just going to be whizzed off this planet, And how that's going to happen, we don't know. But they will be obliterated. They will not be tolerated. It just can't. They cannot succeed. They will be exposed as the parasites and imbeciles and deficients that they really are, rather than being put on a pedestal. I mean, these days, Berlusconi, Barack Obama, Gordon Brown, all these retarded gnats get put on pedestals, and we hear them vomiting to the imbeciles, the blind leading the blind, through the media mechanisms, and poisoning putting a miasma out into the atmosphere so that people should believe they're crap. Those days are over. The imbecile now will be silenced. That's the order of the day. And my 21 presentations absolutely smash and obliterate all the stupid voices of the imbeciles who have supported these religions and the media and have said stupid things like, astrology's from the devil. I know because my pedophile priest taught me that 60 years ago. None of that stuff will continue. None of that stuff will happen. And neither will we have educated types that put their heads on TV and talk badly about the true science of astrology, the theological way of salvation. They will never be able to do this again. We've had all of these great astrologers that I read from, all of them have condemned the clergy for their lies and their blasphemies and their persecution against the holy science of astrology. That's coming back. It's never been, astrology has never gone away. It's always been here, and it never will. It's the language of the habits of light and the Creator. And it's back, and it's here to stay, and I'm here to make sure that it will.
Oh, yeah, I got it fixed.
Okay, so, Kate.
Am I moving?
Yes,
okay.
You're good now. So I posed this question, Kate, and I think you're the right person to elaborate on this, because these suffering women, and Santos made a very good point, and this is something that we also mentioned to these women, where that, you know, your husbands are not going to change. You know, they're going to be drunks. They're going to continue to go with women. They're not going to change. But you will.
Well, no, because here, let me make it real simple, Johnny. I don't want to cut you short, but let's stick to the point here. What you're dealing with in the male species is you're dealing with the chosen ones. You've got a patriarchal system, which is completely backwards to creation. The patriarchal or the masculine energy is the intention energy, not the creational void in which creation comes out of. The electrical energy comes from that matrix womb. Creation is feminine, and the intention that comes from it is the masculine. And what we have here is a topsy-turvy patriarchal. I've talked about this on a few of my radio shows. What we're dealing with in the male species, period, is very simply this. It is an abomination of nature because it cannot self-reproduce, where the female can. That is genetically encoded into every female, that they can reproduce with or without a male. They like to sell it as some sort of immaculate conception, like Our Lady of the Holy Ejaculate might teach. But I'll tell you, what it's all about is a mirror image. Like, I think Creator mentioned it. You might find it in a book or two, that and man was created in our image, after our likeness. Nothing about my there. That was, you know, you might want to go plural on that. And when you understand what the Holy Trinity is, that's the himself, herself, itself, as one. That is the all, the unknowable all. And what we have here is a bastardized version that has been taught in a literal sense. And
Kate. Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry. All of these religious books are they're not works of literature. They're literary to the degree that you understand the metaphors and the allegories that are portrayed within them. You kind of got to dig a little bit deeper than the pedophile priest is teaching you, the pedophile minister, or the rabbi, or the imam. I don't care. I don't care what religion anyone's part of, because when you get into a mind pogrom, not program, a pogrom that has been literally bred into these guys, tell the ones that have a penis that they're the chosen one. And of course, they're supposed to be the protector. And when they're supposed to be the protector and all that, and then some in a bag of chips, well, let's just start beating up the spouse. Let's make women, according to these literary works, a second-rate individual. I hate using citizen. That's such a bullshit word. And what we have here is a complete overpowering of the creative, feminine, spiritual essence. the very nature of life itself. And what we have is an ego, an id entity, id, entification, spirit shun, ka shun, okay? Phi being, the phi ratio, right? Might have something to do with sacred geometry, I'm not sure. But when you start busting this stuff apart and looking at it for what it really is, these individuals the very few, there's not many of them, that have taken it upon themselves with this higher spiritual understanding, again, it's kind of a weird place here when you really start to get your head around it. But what they've done is they've taken over the consciousness. And what they've papered over the matriarchal feminine, the true creation, with this, apparently some god needs a penis. What's that all about? Okay, well, I'll tell you what, there, Yahweh, or whatever you want to call that, that entity, go give birth with that. Seriously, have fun. That's going to hurt. Oh, and by the way, you're going to need a womb for that too. Plus you need compassion, but then being an abomination, and I'm speaking from a two-spirit perspective here, I see both sides of it. The male is an abomination in terms of nature, because it cannot self-procreate. This is the divide and conquer. This is the fallen angel aspect. The Elohim were the himself, herself, itself. And this is the direct result of them popping down here and saying, hey, let's play. They messed it up, and what we're dealing with are things like pedophilic priests and popes and kings and queens and generals and politicians, and I guarantee you every congressman in Washington and every senator, every parliamentarian in the UK and Canada, and every government around this planet, guarantee you do some background check on these guys, and I'd start playing Spot the Innocent One, because that's going to be the real game. That's going to be the game changer. And when people start getting their closets emptied into the street, and that's what Kevin Annette's doing, that's what Santo, myself, and so many others are doing. It's about getting the light on these parasites. We're dealing with a Cro-Magnon species. I'm talking literally, with no prefrontal lobe. They have no compassion. They have no join of the right and left hemispheres. They are completely compassionless. And the Neanderthal that came later, well, there was a lobe there, and right now we're dealing with the Cro-Magnon mentality. That's pure left brain, destroy, 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 trying to get revenge on that which outflanked it, outproduced it. But what they've done is they've inserted their genomes into the Neanderthal, which is what we came out of, and to corrupt it. It goes a lot deeper. I can get into that on another occasion. That gets some pretty heady stuff. But start looking around and having a look. You'd be surprised at what you see when you get your eyes open instead of having your head up your ass.
One of the main things, Kate, that these women were also pointing out is the fear. As we were talking about the fear of being alone. So what do I do now? I've been in this marriage. It's not a fear of being alone, Johnny. It's a fear of security.
Here's the thing. When you have a protector that's actually beating you, that's a double dichotomy there. You've got the one that is supposed to protect you, beating on you, because that's what this society, that's what a literal translation of the Bible and the Quran and all the rest of the books are. That's the literal translation. That creates the Chosenite mentality. When they talk about the whore of Babylon, that's commercial. That's merchant law. That is the legal system. The mark of the beast, that's the name. You walk around with a mark, they're talking, well, you're going to get a tattoo or a number. No, you've already got it, you moron. The birth certificate is actually a death certificate. If you actually pay attention to the last 4 or 5 years of my shows and what I've been through to prove that. Again, I don't need to tell anybody anything. I know what I've lived. And if anyone wants to listen and maybe choose to have a look down the same paths that I did, I can certainly steer them. I don't expect people to do what I did. That was my job to do. So back off. Go get your own sandwich, right? So the thing is, women, it's not fear, Johnny, of being alone. Oh, for Christ's sake, that's such a male perspective. It's a
that's what they were saying. That's what they were expressing.
You're speaking for the men in general. That's not you in particular. Okay, that is the male psyche. Kind of hung around it for about 40 years, and I saw it, and it's disgusting for the most part. I found very few males, friends, that I could actually look at and go, you're pretty decent. You and Santo and Tony and a lot of the other male friends I've got right now, yeah, that's more the breed of that balanced, compassionate heart and mind that I can associate with.
Santos.
Yes.
Okay, so but looking at Santos, I'm not seeing you on the screen.
Yeah. I'm here.
Okay, but look, Kate just made a very interesting point, right? But what about those men in particularly they're mistreating their women? You have to also understand that they've been a victim of this system as well. Because if a man who's been a machista, you know, he's been taught by his father, who he has seen that he's dominated the mother and treated her bad, and perhaps at the age of 15, when that male was 15, 14, probably took him to the local whorehouse and said, look, you're a man, you got to go have sex with these women. But he also was a victim of that, you know. So I mean, it was a very crazy situation, because I'm not defending these guys that mistreat women and they go out and drink and do all these things, and these women are suffering, but they've also been victims. Santos, what you know, so what happens to those people?
Well, first of all, many, true, victims. Yeah, that's true. But many victims have been able to pull themselves out of victim status and have made a decent life of themselves. It doesn't give them the excuse. We know that, but that's a you could call it a mitigating factor. You know, so we can be less judgmental, and we shouldn't be judgmental, because we don't know how much that they've been victims and how much it's impossible for them to just break out of it. But one thing is for sure, that the atmosphere now, the new paradigm, the air of Aquarius and Uranus and Saturn ruling, will be healing. These people will heal. We'll find that the healing energy is there now for everybody to embrace, and it's their choice. But if they decide that they still want to be the victims, and they're angry and they've got, you know, an axe to grind because they were raped or something happened to them, and they've got this excuse now, well, it's only going to destroy them. And we're all intelligent human beings. And we can all make better decisions. And we have helpers now. We have the stars. We have the heavens helping us now. Before, they were against us. Pisces and everything was against us. It was against all good actions. But now we have the help, and there's no excuse.
You know, while I was also in this small town, when you come to Ecuador in April, you're going to notice as well that the best real estate that the church has, the best real estate in town the church has. I was in this small town, Azogues, and it's up in the mountains, in this huge mountain, beautiful aerial view of everything. And guess what's there? A big cathedral, right? And it's all, you know, astrologically positioned, and the symbols are all over the place, and no one ever questions any of this stuff. But are we going to see that people are just going to, as Kevin and Annette was saying, we're going to take this property from them, Santos? Are people going to revolt?
It's our property. It's God's property. It's not the Vatican's. And it will, yes, we will have all that property. You see, what they've done is they've pulled a great trick on us. What you do is you build a great temple with many Freemasons and astrologers and you've got glaziers, you've got masons, you've got all kinds of people coming together to make these beautiful edifices we call churches. And so people look at these buildings and they marvel at these buildings. And because these buildings are so beautiful and magnificent and always on the top of the hill in every town, the best property on the, you know, right in the middle of the parish, and the priests get around in their beautiful, you know, expensive garb and see what this is all eye candy for the cattle, the chattel. You will never see intelligent, wise people of the Creator go into those edifices. You will see only morons. And I'm sorry if you're a churchgoer and you're listening to this and you think you're not a moron. You've got to be a moron to support corporate churches, because they are riddled with pedophilia, riddled with abuse, riddled with lies. All you've got to do is watch 10 minutes of any one of my presentations and you will see they are liars. So why do we allow liars and pedophiles and abusers and stinking, rotten, animalistic behavior to go on in these beautiful churches? We should just reclaim the churches. Those beautiful buildings are ours. Put the priestcraft in prosecution, whether they need a jail sentence or hanging. That's not my business, but justice will be served. And get them out of the way. They're creepy. And then we can just be free. Because who's stopping us from being free? The priestcraft, the bar, the Jesuits and the Vatican. Get rid of the bar. They need to go to jail. They have turned over these attorneys. They have turned over many, many innocent ones of our brothers who are suffering, committing suicide, being raped in those prisons, who have a medication because they're depressed. There's untold misery in those prisons. And the attorneys are getting around, going to court every day, turning little kids over. Oh, you're 18? Oh, and you've been caught speeding, have you? I'll represent you in court. Thank you very much. There you go. Sorry, I lost. The judge had a bad day. You're off to jail. Next, please. We've got to stop this. The bar are criminal. They're pedophiles. They're abusers. They are animals. They are violent. They are everything that is contrary to our freedom. So the bar, the Vatican, and the priests have got to go to jail. It's simple as that. There's no other way. They haven't repented.
Yeah.
They're still trying to rape people. They're still raping people daily. As far as I see in Australia, the courts are still going, and kids are still going off to prison just by their little signatures, Sign away and you can go to prison. It's a benefit. That's got to stop. It has to stop. We have to stop it. We who know this is going on, because they don't. Our poor little brothers out there, they've got no idea. And they love and they give honour to these attorneys. Oh, he's an attorney. Oh, he's very respected. He's an attorney. I mean, the very word should be put in the gutter where it belongs. Even Jesus said, woe to you, lawyers. They are dogs. They are not of humankind. They are betrayers. They are dogs and venomous. They are serpents. And Jesus said they should tie a millstone around their necks and cast themselves into the sea. Not we. They should be casting. They shouldn't be just retiring. They should be jumping out of 100-story buildings and just getting rid of themselves, because they are an aberration. Sorry to be extra kind on them too. I was thinking I might be nasty on them this morning.
Kate.
Yeah. Sandy, you got to stop holding back and tell us how you really feel.
Kate, here, I'll give you another example of this, and then I want to get your thoughts on Kate. We got Santos.
Yeah, I'm here.
I was talking to a man while I was in this town, and I didn't know this right until later on, but it turns out that he has 3 children, 2 males and 1 female, and one of his child is gay. And the father, now keep in mind, when I was talking to this gentleman, who also is an attorney, which was Santos, that's why I remember about this situation, he was saying that, to me, before I knew he had a gay son, that he's a well-known attorney and blah, blah, blah. And we were within a group of people. And all of a sudden, one of the people that was in this group got a little ill. And he said, well, let me go get some herbs I know from my yard. And he's like, oh, can you come with me? He asked me to go, out of all people, right? So I went with him. And he starts telling me, there's a lot of pretty women here in this town, and I've had this young girl that was 25 the other day. He just started telling me all these things, and I'm saying to myself, and I obviously know what he's doing, right? To an average person, I guess he would feel like, oh, here's this older guy, screwing these young chicks. But I understand that his thoughts, he's repressing an idea, a thought, and that information has transmitted to his son, right, who is now gay, and he's hating his son because he doesn't accept him, because he says that's an illness. He's got to come to church more and have Christ come into him so he can leave this madness. And it's horrible. It's a horrible situation. But at this moment, I realized that he's the one who was having those thoughts, but it manifested onto his son. It's a crazy situation.
Yeah. Well, isn't that interesting? Isn't that funny how the pendulum swings both ways? I knew exactly where you were going when you started the conversation as well. Here's a little note to all the straight people out there that have problems with gays. Stop having children that are gay then. Just sharing that one. Thought number 2, he's going to start attacking, I'll tell you the psyche, I know exactly where it's coming from. He's going to attack his son because it's out of pure jealousy. And he's going to go into all sorts of justifiers, and let's go and get you saved by Jesus, right? In the Roman Catholic sense or whatever, rolling down the aisles, Pentecostal, Baptist, Seventh-day Adventist, Mormon, I don't care what they are. But, that really doesn't surprise me at all. And yeah, he is... the immediate response or reaction I had to you intuitively was, oh, we're dealing with a repressed gay man who has a son who he's very jealous of, and that energy definitely will transmit. But again, don't take away from the individual. We're all individual aspects, little sparks of the all-spark of consciousness. We all have the ability to have free will choice. 'Tis the game. Beyond that, there will be definitely influences. Here's let's think of a being that has had that lifestyle or choice how many ever lifetimes, how many, doesn't matter. But what's happening there is coming into, probably chose the family for that reason, knowing that there was that tendency on the attorney dad's, what he was repressing. He's coming into a family that he will be accepted, right? So yeah, no, it's funny. I can't even put it in words what you said. It's so, yeah, that totally makes complete and utter sense. Yeah, you've got a pissed off attorney because he can't doing, and he's going to do everything in his power to make himself look like the straightest guy on the planet when he's
exactly. And sharing this to a total stranger, because I just met the guy. But Kate, hold that thought for a second, because Santos got to run. He's got to do another show, so we'll finish up, you and I. Santos? Hello.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I had mic on mute.
Okay, yeah, I know you got to run, buddy, but just want to get your last thoughts on this, what Kate was saying, and also just to give an update on the research and on the stuff that you're doing for our film. Just want to promote that as well. In the beginning of the program, I gave thanks to a lot of wonderful people. I've gotten some folks that are interested in translating our project, the movie Syncretism, the Science of Light, in Dutch, in Portuguese, in Spanish, in Bulgarian. I mean, there's a lot of people that are coming on board and want to help. So I want you, before you leave, I know you got to run, just to give our friends just a little bit of update on the stuff that you're working on for when you come down to Ecuador in April 30th, the 1st of May, for the production of the film Syncretism, the Science of the Light. Santos.
Yeah, I pray that all good-hearted people that love truth will support this in any way they possibly can. I promise you, as I've always done, every time I've gone out and made a presentation, I've promised that I will deliver on truths and consciousness expansion and facts and figures and understanding and knowledge and wisdom. That's my promise. I'm putting about 8 hours a day into just thought concentration into this film. Now, in terms of scripting, in terms of layout, in terms of putting the best possible things in it. This movie will, this is the promise I make. This movie will smash every fiction forever. We will never need any other product to do it. I promise. This is the promise I make. This will smash every fiction. All the scientific bullshit fiction about the electric universe, and about gravity's role in the universe, and all this crap that we learn in university. We're going back to a purely magnetic universe. We're going back to the cause. We're going back to the source in this video. We are going to smash all the religious corporate fictions, all the bullshit lies of the churches and the priests. They're going to look like dunces after I'm finished with them. Dunces, as they are. They are dunces. And I'm going to smash every fiction in terms of religion. I'm going to smash all the legal fictions, people who think that they are a legal person and they are identifying with their names. Look, the video will help each soul in this universe, on this plane, to know who they are and to be free from the monster. So please, people, please spread the word and give us your support, even if it's a prayer every night, even if it's a well wish, and blow us a kiss or whatever. If you've got $20, stick it in there, because it's your product. We need it. We desperately need it on this planet. That's all I have to say.
Okay, Santos, thank you very much. I know you got to run for your radio show. Thank you, my friend, and we'll see you on Thursday. Okay? Thanks.
Ciao.
Kate, ciao.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, how are you?
So, sorry to cut you off, my friend. But
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. I know Sano's got to get over to AFR, and he's already gone. You should have asked him who he has on tonight.
Okay.
But it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, BonacciTheFilm.com.
Yes.
Definitely get over there and make changing the Spanish, Italian, and Portuguese, because he's going to end up doing them all. People have no idea what impact that's going to have. That's a huge portion of the planet's population that hasn't had an opportunity to be exposed to the truths that Santo has to share. And I will say this, the church is absolutely terrified of people like Santo. And well, they should be. They've been lying long enough. It's time to show them the real truth and the real joy that they can have in life by understanding and not being in fear of these, archonic robed ones. Fair?
Yeah. So, Kate, now that you mentioned this, I know that you have no fear whatsoever of the system or for your life, but we can't ignore that there are certain factors or entities or something that, have a tendency to continue to think that they could affect us. I mean, you can't blame them for trying. But I guess to maybe a few folks that are maybe not so strong-hearted or strong-minded or strong-spirited as we are, and this is not to toot our horn, but we are, because, at this stage of the game, if we weren't strong, we would be a couple of feet on the ground by now. So
yeah.
What can you share with us, for maybe those folks who are sharing truth but are still a little bit of afraid or are being attacked? Yeah,
okay, well, the long and short version of it is this. I've been in terror most of my life. Absolute, abject terror. One of myself and two of so many other things. People if they knew what I had to go through psychologically to do the things that I do, even right now, it would boggle their minds. The difference is, I got good at recognizing it, and I got comfortable with saying, okay, I know you're there, but I'm going to put you here for now. I've got something to focus on. When people can finally understand that, when they can get to the point where they decide to stand in truth, instead of being deceiving, lustful, greedy, vengeful, hateful, spiteful, as soon as they can change those vices, this is the fleshy realm. These are the vices. These are the servants of the flesh that I'm speaking of here. When they can finally get rid of that to a greater degree than they already have, that fear, while still there, I mean, sorry, I haven't removed my adrenal glands, still got the reptilian brainstem. What I've done is I've just made it possible to be comfortable with that. And yeah, what it gives me is, instead of being the fight, flee, or freeze, it gives me the edge, that intuitive edge, that really alert awareness of everything around you, right? You become very, very instinctful. You get very wary of things around you, and you start sensing them. This is part of an empathic nature. As far as fear, yeah, don't kid yourself. That wall that you're going to have to walk through, and the same one I walk through every single second of every single day, is something I had to confront, I had to deal with, and it's still there. So I don't want anyone to think that I don't have or know or understand fear. Of course I do. I understand it probably better than most, to a level most couldn't even fathom. What I've learned to do is put the reins on it, move it out of the way so that it's not interfering with me. I've used it to my advantage. It's made me wary. It's made me agile. It keeps me very alert to anything around me. So I don't want people to get the notion that I can act fearless. Absolutely. And when I'm put in the position, fear goes here, and I say, come on. What are you going to do? What's the worst thing you're going to do? Knock off the meat stick? Okay, well, I'm going to come back and piss you off even worse the next time. And that's because I know I'm infinite, and there's a great solace in that knowledge. But you've got to know that. You can't believe it. If you're going to listen to these goons with Bibles reading it literally, sorry, heaven's supposed to come to you after you die? Tell you what, give me some reports on that, just to confirm that, please. No, you're supposed to create heaven here. You are heaven. This is the heaven, right? Does that work?
Yes. Well, Kate, that's all the time we have. Thank you, my friend, once again for sharing your wisdom with us. I know that you have done a lot of great work in waking up a lot of people, and please do continue. And please visit Syncrenicity.com, the page where Kate and Tony and Santos and many others are working to give and share information to you all. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much, Johnny. Much love to everyone.
Okay. Ciao.
Gotcha.
All right, folks, that's going to do it for us. Once again, thank you for spending this hour and 10 minutes with Kate and Santos and myself. Please go to our website, www.bonaccidefilm.com. Help us out with your donation, or just simply, as Santos put it so lovely, send us your prayer, send us good intentions, send us thoughts, anything that you can afford to give us so that this project can become a reality. I shouldn't say that. It is going to become a reality. It's just so we have more support from all of you guys. Bonaccidefilm.com. Have a good night. I'll see you tomorrow for another edition of The Truth Hour. Ciao.